What's up, guys? Welcome back to Car Studio, and in today's episode we are going to tear down the Blaster and see just how bad it is. Now, when I bought this ATV, I knew that I was probably getting a basket case because of the price, but that's what I was looking for, something that I could rebuild from the ground up and make my own and know what I had. Something that I could go completely through and just replace anything that needed replaced and have a good, tight filling, new filling ATV. So here's what we've got. I've got it up on stands. When this thing was first listed, it was $600, and I talked the guy down to $400. And plus, if you saw the last video, you knew what I went through to get it. And I'm very thankful I didn't pay more than what I did for it, because it's way worse than I thought. Let me show you. So when I first got this, the guy told me that the engine was knocking, and I was hoping maybe it was just a wrist pin, but I went ahead and assumed that it was a bottom end. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about is this engine. So the other night I had ordered the top end kit, and it literally takes 5 minutes to take the head and jug off one of these. So I went ahead and did it, and it's going to need a full rebuild. So I still have to buy a crank for it and seals and main bearings. So what I found out is the piston, if you can see right here, that shininess, is actually hitting the case. The case still looks good, doesn't look damaged other than just some rubbing. But this thing has a ton of, that's just the wrist pin, but from this angle you can see the side-to-side motion is excessive. Now you can put a filler gauge, and I think it's 28 thousandths is the most this should move, but I can tell by looking at it that that's too much, and the fact that the rod is hitting the case, that's definitely not supposed to happen. The piston itself has some wear marks. I didn't really look at the jug too much because I had a new one coming, but we can take a look at it real quick. Yeah, it's hard to see on camera, but it's got some discoloration, maybe where it got hot. The plans for the engine now is, of course, we're going to strip this whole thing down right now. But in the next video, we'll split the case, see what all we have to replace. Like I said, I did have spark, so I know the magneto, and that's in good order. Another thing that I found when I got in here is I guess some mice had been in the airbox, and the engine is full of those little white bits. I don't know, they look like some kind of seeds or something. If you know what they are in the comments, let me know. Maybe you've seen them before and stuff you've kept in a barn. This thing was in like an outside shed. The carburetor also was full of junk like that, which I have right here. This is an aftermarket carb that did away with the TORS system, which is right here. That's a system that Yamaha put on these bikes to kind of cover their ass in case the throttle ever stuck on one wide open. It would kill the spark, and it actually hindered the reliability of these. But the carb was covered in that stuff too. But this is a new carb, it looks like. I went ahead and ordered a rebuild kit for that also. It wasn't expensive. I think it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks. So when it's all said and done, this motor should be all new and very reliable. And you know, that's what I was looking for. I'm not going to do a big bore kit or stroke it or nothing like that. Just a stock motor with an aftermarket pipe and jetting, and you know, we'll go from there. But the other parts of the four-wheeler, which I was hoping were in better shape, but they're not. So I was kind of expecting it, is things like the wheel bearings, the swing arm bearings, control arm bushings, things like that. All that stuff is in rough shape. I think the tie rods are salvageable. That's probably it. And the controls, it does need a throttle cable. I noticed the throttle cable stretched pretty good, but look at the play in this rear wheel. Yeah, that's tight. That's just straight wheel bearing. Also notice this. So on the rear axle here, this is the like spindle that the brake rotor bolts to, and that is doing that. And as you can see, somebody put some pigeon ship welds on it that broke. That's no problem for me. I can weld it back up. I'm hoping that this is, you know, the way it is from the factory. It's just supposed to be welded to the axle. Also, let me know in the comments what you think about that. Can I just weld that and, you know, put a new rotor on it? Because it did come with a new rotor. This one's all chewed up. You can see it's not perfectly round. This wheel's tight, surprisingly. Can't tell in the air right now, but the swing arm bushings are also shot. So those will need to be replaced. Tie rods feel tight. The bushing here for the handlebars is tight, surprisingly, as well. Wiring harness is uncut. So that's one thing I don't need to replace. It does have a good wiring harness. They just kind of tapped into it for the light. So thankfully all that is there. I mean, even back here for like the tail light, these connectors aren't cut. And also up here, for other various things like the brake lights and whatever. I think some of those are for the self oiler, which has been deleted, and it's going to stay that way. But none of this is cut. Up front here, more wheel bearing play. Those bearings are bad. The control arm bushings are loose. A little bit of play in that one. We're just going to replace all that. I really want this thing to ride like it's new. So we're going to tear into it now and start stripping it down. Guys, if you haven't done this, this is something new that I got these for Christmas from my father-in-law, and they're just these little dividers, and I'm going to use this to keep track of parts. So here I have all the body bolts. I've got the key right there, and you know, like these are parts from the head. Each one of these holds something. This is the head, or this is the jug. That's the head bolts or nuts, and this was the exhaust. So that's going to help keep track of things. I've also got the same one right here for the E30 parts, which doesn't have much in it because we barely started on that one. So without further ado, let's tear into this thing and strip it down to a bare frame. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. That actually was really easy, and I put some music on. It was kind of relaxing tearing that thing down. That might be why I'm so enthusiastic about this project, is it is just relaxing and actually fun to work on. I'm a bit tired of the E30, but we are going to finish it very soon. So next video on the quad, we will probably be either painting the frame after I get it sandblasted, or tearing down the motor, maybe putting it back together. I don't know yet. We'll see if I get parts in time. But like and subscribe and stay tuned for more on Car Studio.